Welcome back, everybody. I'm Felix, and I am reacting to top 20 craziest hoarding buried alive episodes. I watch this every now and again. I haven't watched a hoarder one in a while, mainly because when I watch them, I feel the need to peel my skin off. I think my place is bad, and I watch these stories, and I'm just like, well, it could be worse. But this is Miss Mojo. I'll leave a link for her, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And let's watch the chaos.
Where do you eat?
Um, Mostly I go out for fast food.
Welcome to Miss Mo.
One of the things I always thought was crazy also with the hoarder stuff is a lot of times they're well dressed, they look normal, you can't spot them sometimes, but then other times you can easily spot them, so you can never tell who's a hoarder and who's not.
Today we're counting down our picks for the wildest, weirdest, and most shocking episodes of TLC's Hoarding Buried Alive.
Well, is this supposed to be the living room?
I was just looking at the TLC Cake Plus 8. This is an old one.
Yeah, this is how we live. Or don't live.
Number 20, Losing Half Myself. Phyllis and Patty are identical twins who have lived together all their lives. 40 years ago, their older brother was tragically killed in Vietnam, and since then, they've used compulsive shopping to cope with the trauma.
When I was younger, things were fine. But after my brother was killed, everything just fell apart.
Their hoarding has caused
That is a common theme, not just death, but hoarders. It seems like something traumatic happened, and it just boom. They couldn't. It's the only way they knew how to cope was just to hold on to everything because they didn't process the loss.
them to lose their jobs and the house that they grew up in. They moved into their current house just 5 years ago, and in that short time, they've nearly destroyed it. The city has
This is what I'm talking about. Peeling my skin off. Oh God.
given them 30 days to clean up, but parting with their possessions proves to be difficult for the two women. By the end of the episode,
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to watch all this. Oh man, the reason I'm so squeamish about this is because they're living there. It's one thing if you find an abandoned house like that. It doesn't bother me as much when it's just an abandoned house. This is not an abandoned house. This is their house they're living in.
able to buy a new house, but viewers can't help but wonder if it will end up exactly the same as the last one.
When I see the new house, I look at it as an empty slate to start over and keep things more organized and cleaned up and
So they got a new house.
a lot better than things have been.
Number 19, overwhelming pile of junk. Like Phyllis and Patty, Chip is a compulsive shopper and collector, and it's had a serious impact on his wife and 4 children. Chip's wife, Dale, has health problems that make it difficult for her to navigate their overstuffed house.
It was never as bad as it is now, but it's always been bad as far as I can remember.
I've always liked going, even as a child, going to garage sales.
This is what I'm talking about. You see, he's dressed nice. They probably stay clean. But look at that place. It's horrible.
It was my release from the stressors in my life.
Chip built a 3,600 square foot addition to the house specifically to accommodate Dale's needs. But before it was even finished, he began filling it with his stuff. Meanwhile, Debbie's house began filling with garbage after she got divorced and her adult children moved out. It's so disgusting that her youngest daughter chose to leave and live with her dad.
When the divorce happened, when she got divorced, that's when it really started to get worse. She's very self-blaming about it, and she's told me before that she feels like she's failed at everything, and that she feels like even she's failed as a mom because she feels like she's lost all of her kids.
Fortunately, both Chip and Debbie are able to make major progress with the help of professional organisers. Number 18, there are mice everywhere. Most of the people featured on Hoarding.
That's a common thing too, is that there's rodents and bugs everywhere. And they still try to hold on to stuff, but the people there got to explain to them that there is feces and urine on everything. It's all got to go, and they don't want to hear that.
At least recognise that they have a problem, but that's not the case for Jamie. Her collecting has made her house almost unlivable, and it's tearing her family apart. When her daughter's fiancé arrives for a visit, he's shocked by what he sees.
The bedrooms are...
That guy looked like he was trying not to breathe. It probably smells.
Down here, just like, oh, don't step on this. Bedrooms are down here. I'm gonna show you where we're gonna sleep.
Oh, hell no. Is he in his socks? Are those socks? Is he walking around here with his shoes off? No. And then she's talking about we're sleeping here? No. That's grounds to break up. Or is that a fiance? Whatever, we're done. If you think I'm sleeping there, you're crazy. I'm not sleeping there.
This is disgusting.
Kathleen, on the other hand, knows she has an issue, but she doesn't understand how bad it's gotten. Her house has been overrun by hundreds of mice. Even the exterminator is amazed by the amount of droppings he finds.
There is not a room, there is not a square foot where I have not found droppings in the entire house. So it's definitely going to be an uphill battle.
Both houses are a health hazard, and yet their owners still struggle to let a single item go out the door. Number 17, stop touching my stuff. If you're a fan of this series, you may know that many hoarders have some kind of trauma in their past that triggers their compulsion. 16-year-old Haley's story is especially tragic. Her brother died unexpectedly when she was just 4 years old. Now she compulsively collects anything that she can get her hands on.
Is that a real gun? I saw that earlier. It's just laying there. God, I hope there's no bullets.
It up in her room.
In the years following Mikey's death, Haley began to struggle, both at home and at school, and was eventually diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
Her family has resorted to locking rooms and cabinets to prevent her from stealing from them. Even after visiting with an older hoarder, Haley still has trouble admitting that she has a problem. She eventually agrees to let her family help her clean, but only time will tell whether she can stick to it.
The 16-year-old has made incredible progress. She recently started a new job as a certified nurse's assistant and has been working hard to get her room clean and organized.
Number 16.
She's 16 and certified nursing assistant? I don't know how old you got to be to do that stuff, but just looking at her, let me see if I can go back. Like right here, just
has made incredible progress. She recently started a new job as a certified...
She kind of looks out of it, to be honest. I don't know if she's on medication now or what. But what was this, diagnosed with bipolar? So, yeah. You can just tell something happened. So, like I say, a lot of times it has to do with tragedies, and she lost her brother at a young age. And her brain just couldn't cope with it, and that's how it coped.
Nurse's assistant, and has been working hard to get her room clean and organized.
Number 16, 1 is good, 2 is better. Louise was a fashion model in the 1970s, and she used to hobnob with some of Hollywood's hottest stars. But if we gave you 100 chances, we bet you still couldn't guess which celebrity makes a cameo in this episode.
Oh my God, I thought that was him.
Wow, this is...
Ron Jeremy. He's in jail now. But yeah, I wonder what other stuff she did back then.
Not what I expected. It's kind of interesting looking. So when I walked in, it's like, you go, what? This is a Louise I've known for a few years. I never knew
What's on his shirt? Is he a hoarder too?
she was like that.
Ron is the first person Louise has allowed into her apartment in years. Although he tries to be understanding, even he is taken aback by what he sees inside. And Ron Jeremy has seen a lot in his day. Louise received a substantial inheritance from her wealthy parents, but due to her collecting, she's running out of money and about to be evicted. Yet, like so many hoarders, she has a very hard time.
I feel like I've seen this one. I may have actually seen this episode because the woman looks familiar, and I kind of remember him being on there.
Anything go.
You don't get rid of these things,
Someone else is going to.
not only that, but you're not going to be able to call those people whose numbers you're saving because you won't have a phone.
That's okay.
But in the meantime,
No, it isn't.
How? What you gonna do?
No, it isn't okay.
Number 15, leading a double life. Usually a hoarder's problems are confined to their own house, but Denise's hoarder is so bad, her downstairs tenants are also suffering. The mice, bugs and mold that fill her
Downstairs tenants? I know the housing market's hard out there to find a place to live, but no thank you.
apartment have made their way into Laylee's apartment too, and Laylee is fed up.
This is my dining room. Not supposed to be, but as you can see, it's my dining room, my living room, my kitchen, and everything. We have mice. coming all around, running back and forth while we're sitting here trying to watch TV.
I didn't realize that the mouse problem downstairs was so bad that they were catching like 1 mouse a day.
The apartment is also hazardous to Denise herself, who's battled cancer and other health issues for years. Because her bathroom plumbing doesn't work, Denise has been using disposable wipes to bathe and not bothering to throw them away. The amount of filth is shocking.
The piles are about as tall as I am. I'm worried that we're not going to...
Oh my God. I don't know if I'm going to make it through this one. Oh man. I can't believe I used to watch it. I haven't watched it in a long time. Yeah, right now I feel like taking a shower. I took a shower earlier and now I feel like going to take another one. I feel like just running around. Like the room I'm in actually is cluttered, but there's no food. It's paper that I work IT and there's a lot of IT stuff here that I've thrown away a lot, but still cluttered. Now I feel like cleaning. Oh God. Oh man.
much progress as we hoped and maybe Denise was expecting us to.
Denise actually handles the cleanup process pretty well, and the crew is able to get her
so much
new
better
lease on life. Number
So much
14,
better.
I'm dumbfounded. Jeff is ready to walk away from his marriage because of his wife's hoarding problem, and he doesn't even know how bad it's gotten. His wife Vicky is keeping a shocking secret. Vicky has one storage unit that Jeff is aware of, but she also has a second storage unit and a massive empty storefront full of stuff.
What he doesn't know is that 2 years ago, Vicky started renting a second storage unit. And when that filled up, she signed a lease for a 9,000 square foot storefront commercial space.
Jeff has struggled with high blood pressure.
That would put my blood pressure through the roof. To distract myself, I'm noticing the lighting. I've been putting off getting a ring light. I don't know why. I keep telling myself I'm not making money at this, but they're not that expensive. You get one for $10. I need to get me a ring light. Maybe I can go through her stuff and find a ring light. The storage units are one thing, but if I discover she signed a lease for a storefront just to store stuff, it's over. We're done. That's it. I'll be like, I'm out. Actually, I'll probably be like, I'm out just over the storage unit, the second storage unit. Like, now we're done. I'm out. I'm out. Bye. I know there are people like, oh, but she has a disease. Yeah, I understand that, but I can't help her. It's like, it's time to go.
He is legitimately worried that the reveal will give him a heart attack. When he learns the truth, including the fact that his kids knew all along and hadn't told him, he's understandably angry.
You've got to be kidding.
The betrayal. His kids knew too. Oh. I might be able to get over being angry at the kids because it's possible the kids were thinking, we don't want dad to die. We don't want dad to leave mom. We don't want dad to leave us, so on and so forth. That could have been what's going through their head. I hope to God that's what was going through their head, not less. Yeah, let's just not tell dad. Because you'd be surprised how many people think like that. But he has high blood pressure, and that could be what they were thinking. Like, if we tell dad, this is going to kill him.
This is ridiculous.
The kids weren't thrilled about it at all. But I could lock myself in here and go through stuff.
I don't like you being down in this part of town.
To save her marriage, Vicky has to buckle down and get rid of her many possessions. Number 13, overtaken by puppets. This might be the creepiest hoarding episode yet. Donna...
I'm already creeped out, even before that popped up. Jesus.
is a retired ventriloquist and obsessed with collecting puppets. She estimates that she has more than 200 of them in her house, and they only make up a small portion of her hoard. And she's not just buried in garbage, she also has a mountain of debt.
Probably in around $300,000 of debt.
I might be in the hundreds actually, because the house, cars, two cars are about to be paid off. So I can see being in the hundreds. Is she in the 300s because of a mortgage? Is that part of the debt? Because if you take into account my house, 2 cars, student loans, We're in the hundreds. Oh shit, are we in the 200s actually because of student loans? Got a lot more debt than I think.
Right now that I owe. And I took out a huge equity loan on my house. And if I don't pay this loan back,
that explains it. That's why she's in debt so much.
The
reason I was kind of caught off guard, but it didn't look like she worked. I don't think it says she works or not. Well, she probably doesn't hold down a job. She took out an equity loan. Who knows what other debts she's racked up just collecting these things. But a lot of times these hoarders, they don't necessarily have a job. They lost their jobs and they're getting welfare or something from the government to get some kind of government assistance. So, yeah.
Lose this house.
Luckily, some of her collection is actually worth money, and agreeing to sell a few puppets is the first step towards recovery. The second story of the episode concerns Harold, a divorced dad, who wants to spend more time with his daughter. But that's difficult, since his house is so dangerous that she's not even allowed inside.
Things started to get worse after my second divorce.
It's dangerous? That's not good.
Boy, stuff just started piling up. I just couldn't keep track of it all.
Yet it's still incredibly difficult for him to part with his things. Number 12, I want to cuss. Some hoarders are compulsive shoppers, and that's true for Sharon, but she's also obtained a lot of her collection by stealing it. Now her 4,000 square foot house is packed with items. When her neighbour and best friend comes by unannounced, she's shocked to find so much of her own stuff in Sharon's house.
But I forgot all about it when she came into my house, and she walked in and I was busted.
I knew you wouldn't let me. I love him. I want to recover him.
This is why. Oh my!
Yeah, but you gave me that.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I don't remember giving it to you.
Half the stuff in this house is mine.
Both Sharon and the episode's other subject, Len, started spiraling out of control after their divorces. Len's small house is so crowded he can't cook indoors, and he hasn't slept in his bed in over a decade. His daughter is disgusted by how he's living, and she hasn't visited in years.
I'm sick of hearing about the past. I feel like he's living in the past. Holding on to things so tightly, not wanting things to change, and liking old things.
Both of these people have a lot of work ahead repairing their relationships. Number 11, it's just sex. Janet and Herv's house is covered in filth from top to bottom. The problem has gone on so long, their 22-year-old son can barely remember even seeing the house clean. They've been forced to move in with a friend, Wendy, because their own home is unlivable.
Be sure to watch out for this hole.
Oh my god! Just throw it away! Just throw...
Let's go all the way down.
All the way down. Dang. Dang. There's a hole in the floor.
Even worse, their son has to live in a tent in the backyard. But that's just where the
So he was 22. It's time for you to move on.
begins. Janet reveals that Herv started an affair with Wendy 3 years earlier. He even asked Janet to join the two of them in the bedroom, but she was super uncomfortable with the idea. You know an episode is crazy when the house isn't even the wildest thing in it.
Janet's finding it more and more difficult to cope with Wendy and Herv working so closely together.
That's great.
Herv was spending more and more time with Wendy, and Janet was feeling really alone in the process, working through all kinds of things on her own without Herv while he's with another woman.
Number 10, this house killed her. The show is no stranger to emotional situations, but one of the most upsetting was in this season 4 episode. When the 65-year-old mother of 3 children passes away, it's down to the adult kids, Amy, Cheryl and Jimmy, to clear out the clutter and prove that Mum owned her house in the aftermath of her death.
Also, the hoarder died. Okay.
While Jimmy lived with their mother and knew the true extent of her hoarding problem, the two sisters had no idea. It's difficult to watch them come to terms with the way that their mother lived and died, and even more so when the biohazard team begin to throw out the deceased Cynthia's many possessions.
I just miss her so much.
Yeah, you loved her.
She was my mom.
Number 9, 3 apartments, 3 hoarders.
These are all lesbian novels. They're going to your
I'm sorry. What did she say?
She
Number 9, 3 apartments, 3 hoarders.
These are all lesbian novels. They're going to your clubhouse.
How many lesbians we got here?
At least 4 to 6 that live here, couples.
In a first for Hoarding, this episode featured 3 hoarders, all living in separate apartments in the same apartment building. Even more bizarre, the 3 of them were all completely unaware that they were living so close to people who suffered from the same problem. There are more light-hearted moments this time around, as one struggles to part with her collection of lesbian erotica, and many of the workers resort to throwing items out of the windows to get them out of the building.
We'll open up a lesbian friggin' library and donate it with your name on it.
Throughout the episode, tension remains high between the hoarding trio and the owner of the community complex, who desperately wants things cleaned up. Number 8, they're crawling. Audiences frequently find themselves wondering how the residents of these hellish homes managed to live in them without getting sick, and this became especially evident in season 4.
Oh, is he puking?
Working on TLC's cleanup crew contracted hantavirus while filming.
Oh!
While not contagious from human to human, it spread through breathing in air contaminated by the virus, which comes from the fecal matter and urine of some rodents.
Hantavirus is a disease which is spread by rodents, and when you go through processes like cleaning a home, sweeping, vacuuming, these sorts of things, it goes into the air.
Kay's home.
Jesus. This is what I'm talking about. I gotta get clean now. I gotta clean them. Oh, Jesus.
Was absolutely riddled with pests, including snakes and possums, and the worst...
Wait!
Cleaning a home, sweeping, vacuuming, these sorts of things, it goes into the air.
Kay's home was absolutely riddled with pests, including snakes and possums.
Possums? Yeah, snakes and possums? Yeah, bugs, probably rats, mice, snakes. Okay, I get it now. The snakes probably were going after the rats. The possum was in there probably going after the rats and mice and the snake, so on and so forth. It was the circle of life inside that place. Jesus Christ. Oh, what number are we on? Why did I pick this one? Oh, God, I want to burn my house down and start over now. Oh, jeez, it's not even that. I'm so happy. Oh, Jesus.
And the worst part of all, she would still barely admit that she had a problem, even when her own home...
They rarely do.
...had to be completely quarantined.
I lived with that stuff for 10 years. It was, at one point, something important to me.
Number 7, full of rats. Kay may have been playing host to an array of furry friends, but Hoarder Michelle took that to a whole new level in her aptly titled episode. Property investors want to buy her home, but soon discover that Michelle's problem has damaged the house to its core, as it is absolutely teeming with rats.
We pulled out big rats, small rats, medium-sized rats, spiders, and a bevy of other little flying creatures, and of course, a possum.
She's also technically homeless.
I'm not even a germaphobe or a neat freak, but this is... Damn! This is why I don't watch... My mom watches this show. Maybe... I wonder if she watches it so she doesn't become like this.
But seems unable to accept it as the team tries to help her. But perhaps the episode's worst moment comes at the beginning, as Michelle gives a tour of her kitchen, showing the filthy pots and pans that she uses to cook with to the cameras.
God, she cooks with it. Oh,
pots and pans all in the kitchen. I use this in my quiche.
Number 6, you're not taking my...
You cannot eat at everyone's house. Oh, God. I gotta show this to my kids and my wife. Maybe we'll get motivated to just burn the house down and rebuild it. Oh, if you want motivation to clean, watch this. Watch Hoarders. It'll make you want to clean.
Kids. Karen isn't the only victim of her hoarding. Her 2 young sons are quoted as saying they feel trapped in her nightmarish home.
I think my mom might struggle with hoarding. I feel like I'm trapped inside.
The episode begins with the kids being taken away by Child Protective Services because of concerns for their well-being. Karen offered the ultimatum that if she doesn't clean up her act within 48 hours, she will not regain custody of her boys. But the situation...
And she shouldn't. I'm sorry, she shouldn't. It's a horrible environment for them to be living in.
Notable for reducing psychologist Dr. Becky Beaton to tears when she sees the sick and neglected family dog. Soon rehomed by the SPCA. Number 5, worst I've ever seen. Karen's World.
What the hell was that?
Number 5.
Is that? Oh God! I hope that's a sculpture, not a petrified rat. Jeez. The worst part is, I could see that being a petrified rat.
I've ever seen. Karen's world was thrown into crisis when local officials told her they would tear down her property for not being up to code.
My obsession is keeping.
Okay. There's something I gotta say about this. I know about filming where you want to get B-roll, have that extra roll of film and stuff like that to show, like this scene. But keep in mind, the cameraman or camera person had to get in there. They had to get in there to film this scene. They crawled through this muck to film this scene. You could not pay me enough. Well, actually, I take that back. You probably could pay me enough. To be up there. Jesus. Are we on 5? I think I'm on 5.
Things.
While investigating, they found it severely damaged without running water and full of cat feces. One code enforcer couldn't even stand to be in the building without throwing up. Karen's realization that the home her parents built could be condemned is heartbreaking. Meanwhile, in the same episode, Teresa struggles to balance her shopping compulsion with her chronic fatigue syndrome, meaning her house is completely overrun with junk and her illness renders her unable to clean. It's just...
That's something that gets me, is that a lot of these people have they're sick. And not talking about mental, they have physical ailments that, if not living in a proper environment, they get worse. And they're not living in a proper environment and their ailment is getting worse.
With a lot of stuff.
Number 4, I can't breathe. Another mother at risk of losing custody of her child was Lorena, whose own sister was attempting to have 10-year-old Alexia put into her care out of concern for the child's well-being.
That child deserves better.
Lorena's hoarding has tragic beginnings, all stemming from when her ex-boyfriend brutally assaulted her 5 years earlier in her own front garden. However, this is one unfortunate story that actually has a happy ending. Lorena managed to completely turn her life around, separating from her hoard and keeping it under control, prioritizing her young daughter's safety and quality of life above all else.
I probably wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for one of my daughters. She saved me.
Number 3, is that a goat? A show with no shortage of horrors reaches extremes with Joyce and her collection of antique dolls. When her marriage fell apart, she turned to the dolls for comfort. And despite running out of money and losing her job, she continues to buy as many of these dolls.
Where's the goat? I want to see the goat.
As she can get her hands on.
I like dolls that smile, especially when you have a lot of depression and stuff. It's nice to have someone or even something smiling at you all the time.
The episode's other hoarder is Donnie, a retired Marine who doesn't just have his own personal junkyard, but also a lively herd of goats.
Is that a fire truck? That's a fire truck. Is that a goat? Yep. I got about 10 of them in there.
But Donnie feels under siege from the county, from which he has amassed...
Yeah, of course you're under siege. They don't want that there. It's a health hazard.
...in fines and 2 jail sentences. Number 2, just tear it down.
The amount of stuff in here kept us from finding her body sooner.
Right. But the reality is that is what's going on. It's extreme neglect of their home, their life, their animals.
Karen's neglected dog may have ultimately been adopted by a vet after being removed from her home and given to animal control, but the outcome wasn't nearly so pleasant for Doug and Darlene's missing cat.
Oh, Jesus. I'm like, I thought they were going to find a human body. Jeez.
This episode, the cat's mummified remains are found trapped.
I was actually going to say that they've had episodes where they found the mummified remains of animals. So that's what happened here.
Beneath a heavy dresser where it had perished 2 years earlier.
The hardest moment
This is the one I saw.
When we found the rat cat. And only then she wasn't even the cat, she was our child.
And that's not the worst of it. They also have a broken septic tank, which means the house is steadily overflowing with raw sewage and human waste, to the point where demolition seems like a better option than attempting to clean. Sleeping in a dumpster.
Old milk. This one is from June, so that's like 7 months, 7 months ago.
In arguably the craziest episode of all, stubborn hoarders and deadly clutter weren't the only dangers people had to worry about. Laura is attempting to clean her home with the help of her sons and the show's crew, but their lives are threatened when a fire breaks out in her garbage-filled kitchen.
Whoa, hey! Guys, help me out here. Help me out. Water! Signature!
Oh, God.
Somebody mistakenly turns on the stove, which is covered in newspapers and other flammable materials, leaving them struggling to extinguish the fire, or else the entire house will go up in flames. They eventually manage to stop the blaze, but it makes for one of the most intense moments.
You know, not to take away from the hoarding, but I yell at my kids and my wife. I've caught her doing it. Leaving like the hand, well, I can't think of the pot holder on the stove. They'll just throw, like, no, don't you leave that on the stove. I make them go back and take it. I made my wife go back and take it off. Like, we're not burning this house down. I think I just joked about it. But, yeah, I don't know why they do that. I yell at my kids for it. I've seen, even my wife will set stuff on the stove. Like, don't do that. It's like, just don't do that. That's one place you shouldn't be setting stuff on to, like, store or anything.
Whole run.
I mean, it could have gotten ugly real fast. And what's on the floor? Trash, papers, plastic. I mean, done.
Which hoarder's house freaked you out the most?
All of them.
Let us know in the comments below.
All of them freaked me out. Every last one. Oh God. I made it through. This is horrible. I'm not usually a squeamish freak, but watching so much hoarding like that just got to me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll leave a link for this one. I think Hoarders is still on. I think it's on Netflix too if you want to go watch some episodes. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. Everyone take care. Later. Oh, God, sorry.